Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, the #1 sports information program in America, the Breakfast Bankroll, with your host, the sports broker, Jeff Dawson.
ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app. Good morning, sports fans from all across the globe. I am the host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors. This is a little of your Breakfast Bankroll Midday Market Report weekend edition from the Odds Couple. Myself and Scott have been calling ourselves the Odds Couple for a long, long time. Shout out to Mr. Lucky. Threw that at us and it stuck. And of course, there's a bunch of other people that use it as well, but it is what it is. Glad everyone made it here, joined us here for the weekend. Grab yourself a cup of Joe, an espresso, I don't know, a mimosa or a bloody, whatever you need, maybe to shake the cobwebs from last night. Women's basketball, briefly, the UConn women were missing 5 players for most of the year, 3 starters, 2 All-Americans, and my point is Gino, probably his best year of coaching. I didn't think they'd get to the Final Four. Got there, of course, versus Caitlin Clark. A great game. UConn dictated the first half, of course. Caitlin gets hot. Iowa comes back to take the lead in the second half. My point is very simple. Whether it was a foul or not a foul, you can't blow that whistle with 3.5 seconds left. UConn was not in a great spot either to get a shot off. It looked like Beckers was going to get the ball and either slip it down low or was going to have to launch one. So it is what it is. South Carolina, Iowa meet up tomorrow night for the national championship. South Carolina undefeated this year with Don Staley as the head coach. Iowa, Caitlin Clark, all know that story. Men's tip-off later this evening. Currently Purdue 9.5. It depends on where you're shopping. Against NC State, who won 5 games in a row in the ACC tournament just to get to the dance, and now have won 4 in a row. So I have flashbacks of 1983. Jim Valvano beat a dominant Houston team. It looked like an air ball, which turned into an alley-oop and dunk. I think they were 9.5-point underdogs there. And then, of course, the late game, UConn now up to 12, dipped to 11.5-point favorites against Alabama. And listen, guys, if you know anything about Alabama, they're the one team that could start the game 6 for 7 from 3, and you blink and you're down 15-3, 15-5. The UConn men have not allowed this to happen all year, especially in this tournament. 3 losses all year, early in the year at Kansas. First game in the Big East against Seton Hall, and late in the regular season at Creighton, and they've sheeted since. Going back to last year, the least amount of points that they have won by is 13. If UConn and Purdue chalk stands, I've seen UConn on DraftKings -5.5 at the Westgate Superbook. I've seen it at 6. So I'm not putting the cart before the horse. The ECSI VIPs, mid to late November, early December. We have 6-7 to 1 on both UConn and Purdue. So if we can get them to the finals, it's a nice payday for us. Shout out to our proud sponsor and new partnership. And it's going to go a long ways. Trust me on this one. WagerWire. If you have not downloaded the app, please run to Google Play, Action, wherever you download the apps. It's free. Get yourself acclimated to the app. It is an amazing tool that just keeps getting better, and better. Scroll down to the bottom, see all the sports books that are available in your states. Download them. Take advantage of the match play, the promos, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It allows you to start window shopping. Why pay minus 127 when you can scroll to the right and get it at minus 116 somewhere else? Those 11 cents or $11 per 100 add up on a weekly basis, monthly basis, and of course, yearly basis. And if you want to join the WagerWire team and be a part, make yourself a little flash cash. Send an email to affiliate@wagerwire.com. Tell them JD from ECSI sent you. Zach, Travis, Matt, Amber, Carol Bucks, Holly, Molly. The list is endless. Jay Berry. Great content out there. A million good people out there. Let's be a part of this before the train leaves the station and you're caught in the caboose or standing room only. So I didn't prep Scotty, not that we ever have a script or anything, because there's some major issues now going on in baseball. And I'm not talking Shohei Ohtani and a scandal there. There's some red flags, and I'm saying it even from a fantasy standpoint. I know we're talking about the games. We got a full slate here today to break down. The scare last night, and we're still waiting on results, to breaking news about 10 minutes ago before we went live here. And I didn't see this one coming either. So I'm not letting the cat out of the bag. Anyone that's a baseball guy knows what I'm talking about. So without further ado, live from Tampa, beam them up, Scotty Webb. What's up?
Morning, Jeff. I had my coffee. Now I'm having my Monster Rehab. These late nights are already starting to go, and you think you win a game, and you're watching the Milwaukee Brewers having a pretty smooth ride. It's 3-0. Then all of a sudden it's 3-3. Then okay, they hit a home run, whatever. It's 4-3. Then they get up 5-3, and then they can't close it out in the bottom of the ninth. It's 5-5. And then what happens? Seattle brings in their big closer, Munoz, throws 100 miles an hour. He walked 4 straight guys, Jeff. 4 walks.
Well,
Milwaukee wins the game, and I'm going, shit, I want a game like that instead of losing a game like that.
It's so funny you say that, because I felt like a hero last night, not once but twice. It's funny. I woke up yesterday morning and the weather alerts, wind blowing out 30, 40 miles an hour at Coors Field. And I'm like, all right, here they go, under over a 13. But I was more focused on your Tampa Bay Rays side. Your team total was over 6.5. And I left it on the desk. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to be smart. I'm going to stay away. And I did a lot of work yesterday, Scotty. And I was like, you know what? I'm at the office. Let's put on MLB TV on my desktop. And there it is, top of the ninth, 6-2. And I'm like, yes, smart move. And then it's 6-3. Then it's 6-4. Then it's 6-6. And then it's 7-6. And I'm like, you rat bastard, right? But it gets better. It gets better. Because I had the same damn thing with the Atlanta Braves. I had their team total 5.5 over on the desk. And I was like, no, I'm not going to get cute here. 5-2. They're down, top of the ninth. 5-3, 5-4, 5-5. Let's make it 6-5 walk-off. And again, when you have 4.5 over, and if you get that 4-4 score and you go to the 10th inning, everyone starts with the guy on second. You got 3 swings there. It's great. And both of those come in. And there was a number yesterday, Scotty, that made 0 sense, and it got me. It got me good. And that was the Houston Astros. And I started the show by saying, Houston, we have a problem. And I wasn't talking about the Astros. They closed at minus 147. Maybe Vegas was thinking they get out of Houston. Now they're on the road. They started off with a leadoff single to start the game, and then they're 18 up, 18 down. It reminded me of that Tampa Saturday game last year that I still remember, that you were playing at home against Kansas City, and I did the same thing. I double dipped and I got scorched. But anyways, there's no crying in baseball. And when I said Houston, we have a problem, Houston, we have a problem, and who better to ask than you? Last night, Spencer Strider, the stud, the potential number 2 fantasy guy coming off the board behind Acuna after the Garrett Cole injury. Velocity was down, walking. There were a couple bleeders in the first, but long story, it wasn't the same Spencer Strider. And then, of course, after the game, has elbow soreness, stiffness, whatever the bleep we're going to call it today, going to an MRI. And of course, the one auction league, the one league I'm in, I got Spencer Strider, so I am seething right now. But before we got on, breaking news, and the guy who had been a stud to start the year, Shane Bieber, Tommy John surgery done for the year. And I'm like, holy shit, where did this come from? And we already know about the Garrett Cole news, maybe 3 months if they're lucky, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Trevor Story, potentially done for the year. But I just want to stick to the pitching right now. We got a problem here, Scotty. Everyone wants to blame the pitch clock. I know it's more than that. Guys throwing 100, 101, 102. Sooner or later, it's going to blow out like a tire on the expressway. We got a problem here, Scott.
Well, let's just start with this. So they instituted the pitch clock last year, right? It wasn't the year before in Major League Baseball. And they've had the pitch clock has been something going on in the minor leagues for 2 or 3 years now. So it's not like something that's new to the kids coming up. So I made there's a I don't know, it's a baseball Twitter account that has good stuff relation to pitching on there. I forget what the name of it is, but I made a comment to that guy on his take because he blamed it all on the pitch clock. And I made a comment on there, and that comment, I don't want to say it went viral because that's not really the right way to say it, but I got 40 some likes on the comment that I made, and that's the most likes on a comment that I think I've ever made ever. So here's what I'm going to say. Last year, there were fewer Tommy Johns than the year before. And based on that, there were also the pitch clock in play. And in those comments that I made on Twitter to that guy, there was a professional baseball player that took up that one side, and he talked to me too. But here's what I'm going to say. The human arm, and I'm not a doctor, but I do know how arms work. And I've had shoulder surgery, and I've seen Tommy Johns, and I've caught pitchers, and I've talked to lots of people. The human arm does not do well under the stress and contortion that it's being put under today by the athletes we have today in today's game. These guys are throwing 97, 98, 95, or you really can't play baseball anymore. I mean, if you're not 93, 94, I don't want to call them soft tossers because they're not soft tossers, but at the same time, those guys are starter number 3, number 4, number 5 in the rotation. They're not the best guys on the block anymore. So what happens though is that your arm, over a repetitive amount of throws, it gives out, it breaks. So then the doctors go in and they repair it. Now, it's happening more often than you would want it to happen, but it's not still an epidemic where a second Tommy John is necessary. That's happened, but it's not an epidemic there. I would almost be willing to tell you that when the doctor goes in and fixes it, they fix it better than it was before. So it's better. So it holds up better under those circumstances. Now, the other thing I would be willing to tell you is that for those people that, and I've seen this on Twitter lots of times or social media and stuff, where that if they relate spring baseball to preseason football, spring baseball is about the pitchers. We can talk about the hitters and getting timing and all that stuff all you want to, but the way a pitcher works is they've got to build up their arm. So I know that sounds silly that they got to build up their arm, but their pitching regimen is not just those 80 to 100 pitchers on game day. So that arm starts with spring training at 20 pitches, say. But then the next 5 days, they're going to pitch again. But in between, they have 1 day of rest. And then the day after that rest, they're going to go throw again. They throw bullpen sessions, and they're going to go throw 20 to 30 to 40 pitches in the bullpen sessions. And then they're going to pitch again on a game. And then they're going to want that to be, they call it stretching it out, right? So they want their arm to be built up to then throw 70 pitches or 50 pitches. And then they do it again, and then they do it. But they don't totally rest for that 5 days. All pitchers, even throughout the season, they're going to go throw 40, 50 pitches in between starts with the idea that that muscle memory, the buildup of the strength in the arm will hold up. And that's why they need spring baseball, because these guys are going to throw 100 pitches in a game. When they throw 100 pitches and they're putting that much torque and that much stress and that much, angles and contortions and whatever you want to on the elbow, it breaks. Those tendons break. And that's what happens. The tendons break. Then you go and you have to do Tommy John surgery, which in essence, they take a tendon out of your leg and they put it into your elbow and they fix it. And then they make it stronger is typically what happens. And then they have to rebuild all of that back up. And it takes a year to year and a half before these pitchers can pitch again. So the 10 seconds in between pitches that it takes for recovery for these pitchers is not the reason why those guys are breaking the tendons in their arms. Can it be a contributing factor? Probably so. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you that's the reason why it's happening. And I certainly don't think that the contribution to the reason for the injuries is enough that it merits, okay, we're not going to do this we're going to take away the pitch clock. I don't think any of that has any merit there.
With what is going on, we're not even through the first full week. We're on Sunday we'll be 10 days in here. Just with the makeup, what is going on here? Cleveland got off to a decent start. Obviously, the talk last year at the break, were they selling or not? Bieber was part of a potential move. I thought if Cleveland didn't get off, didn't do well this year, they would have definitely moved Bieber. I don't know, I guess best case scenario for Atlanta, something's not torn or whatever. We're going to give them rest. We're going to shut them down for a month. We're going to check back. We'll check back on Memorial Day even, anyone. It's almost like I was going to say to you, you're almost better off at going 6-7 man rotations, wheeling these guys in once a week, taking less pressure off them. I know these guys used to be geared for every fifth day. There's a lot of guys that are not mentally, hey, I'll take the pass, coach. I'll come back on the 6th day. Give me the extra day's rest. But what does baseball do? If you were a manager right now, you're seeing these guys drop like flies here. What are you thinking as a manager?
Well, here's a couple of things. One, I don't understand the Atlanta Strider thing. And the reason I don't understand it is because think about Garrett Cole, right? So Garrett Cole didn't have to go have Tommy John. He just felt something. So he backed off and he said, hey, I felt something. They caught it. So now he just needed rest. He doesn't need surgery or nothing. Well, what did Strider do? Strider threw 88 pitches in a game. So he wasn't being forthcoming if he really truly had elbow problems. And I'm not saying he didn't. And if he felt something, or if then they're going to go have an MRI or whatever. I don't know. Like I'm not a doctor. So when it comes down to these guys, they're getting paid a lot of money, and they need to be forthcoming and straightforward, so that because they're the prized possession of the team. These guys. We talked about it the other day. Strider threw 32 games last season. In those 32 games that he threw, the Atlanta Braves won 26 of them. I mean, that holy crap, 26 times in his games. So he is extremely vital to them and how that works. So if he's not forthcoming, and I'm not saying that he wasn't telling them this because I don't know, but I would tell you that if he said, hey, I'm having an elbow problem, Snickler would have said, you're out. You're in. Whoever else is coming. I don't care if you threw 2 pitches or 1 or 0. He wouldn't have pitched. So I don't get that particular element of that. And in Japan they do throw many 6-man rotations, and they have a different setup. So a lot of times these guys have to have major adjustments when they hit the States because we're on a 5-man rotation. So I think there might be some major concern here. But at the same time that I tell you that, I don't know how you fix it. The reason I don't know how you fix it is because as the game, and I shouldn't say the game evolves, because this is not a game involvement situation, Jeff. This is an athlete evolvement situation, right? They just did the combine for the NFL, and you can go watch guys jump and run and long distance jump and lift weights and do all that stuff. And if you compared those guys to what they were 20 years ago or what they were 50 years ago, you'd be going, oh my God, look at these monsters out here and how fast they run and how big they are and how strong they are and all. They're the best athletes in the world. It's the same with baseball. But baseball is an intricate sport in which certain body movements create these problems. And when you're out there throwing 97, 98, 99 miles an hour on a regular basis, and that's what you do, then to compete with the other players that are playing baseball, you need to be able to do that. Because Major League Baseball teams want pitchers that are going to do basically the 3 true outcomes. The 3 true outcomes are strikeouts, don't give up home runs, and don't walk guys. So those are it. So if you're a pitcher and you can go out on the mound and strike everybody out, don't walk anybody, and you don't give up home runs, you totally dominate the game from the mound. You don't even need a defense. So that's what major league pitchers, major league teams are looking for. And if they can't get that, then the next best thing is to have a guy, at least if he's going to pitch, is going to put the ball into a location at a velocity that the batter has swing and misses. So if they don't have swing and miss stuff anymore, they can't pitch, which reminds me to go, I don't know why Chris Flexen even pitches for the Major League Baseball anymore. And he's pitching today. I mean, oh my God, I don't understand it. Anyway.
And maybe even a red flag, and I know we're talking a lot about Strider here. But maybe the red flag, even to me, was when he tried to add a pitch, whether it was a curveball, slider, or whatever, in the off season and spring training to add to his arsenal. Maybe he felt something coming where, hey, if I throw this pitch, it'll be less strain when I throw the fastball. That's number one. Number two, the effect of losing a Shane Bieber. The number one, the ace on that team.
Hey, Jeff, can I interrupt one second? I want to tell people, and I don't know what I can't see, so I don't know how many viewers we have today, but what I will tell you is the out pitch in Major League Baseball is the slider. That's the out pitch. That's the pitch that gets people out. The fastball, you can't throw it by hitters that well. I mean, hitters can hit velocity. Now, your reaction time is different, and the strain on your arm. And the reason that the pitch is the slider is because the velocity of a slider has gone up to the point in which that torque on the elbow distorts it more so than any other pitch. So it's the slider that breaks your arm off. The velocity is a big deal, but it's the velocity of the slider that matters the most. It used to be, Jeff, a guy would throw 95 miles an hour. We thought he was the greatest guy in the world, but then his slider would be like an off-speed pitch, like 85 miles an hour, and then you throw a curveball at like 80. Well, today, if you throw a 95 mile an hour fastball, you throw a 91 mile an hour slider. There's not much difference, and that's why it's a killer pitch, is because it's at the same closeness to velocity as the fastball, but it moves way differently than a fastball does. Anyway, I'm sorry. I meant to interject that.
No, not at all. And my point with a Garrett Cole, a Shane Bieber, a potential Spencer Strider here, the workhorses, the aces. You said Atlanta won 26 games out of his 32 starts, the 300 strikeouts. When you strike out 300 plus in the MLB, that's 300 balls that weren't put into play. That the fielders don't have to make. But my point is now the pecking order moves where the 2 goes to the 1, the 3 goes to the 2. My point is now your 5, who's your worst, moves to a 4, and now you're scratching your head. Who is our 5? This best Tampa Bay Rays started with the bullpen games. Hey, get me 6 outs, and then we're just going to piece this together. So you've just now added so many moving parts that it's just an absolute head scratcher on what these teams do. When you lose the horses, the Biebers, the Coles, potentially the Striders now. Atlanta was one of the favorites, not only to obviously win the East in the National League, the co-favorites or the favorites with the Dodgers in the National League, and of course to win the potential World Series. So a lot of talk on injury stuff, and it's a crazy world. Earthquake yesterday, and I shuddered about 2 minutes ago. A loud boom, like an explosion. And I was just looking at Facebook, like, what the hell? I'm about 20 minutes from the Otis Air Force Base on Cape Cod, and I'm wondering if they're goofing around. They don't do anything there anymore, but this was a loud boom, and now I'm like, what is the eclipse ain't till Monday, so I don't know what the hell's going on, Scotty.
Yeah, I don't know, but here's the other concern that I have, right? So Major League Baseball wants to expand. They want to put 2 more cities out here and have 2 more teams. And I'm all for that. I mean, in terms of giving baseball, Major League Baseball, to other cities. The problem that I have, though, is I think pitching is going to get to a point where it's so watered down that some of these teams, they're not going to be able to compete at all. If you were to sit here and go, okay, now we got to add 10 more starting pitchers to 2 teams, and then have the depth and the rosters to make that work. I don't know how you do it because I don't think there's enough good pitching to go around to be Major League Baseball ready. Now, that said, the Braves, in their particular circumstance, have A.J. Smith-Shawver, who can come up. He's not going to be Strider. Not that I don't know how many people will be Strider, but the kid's a good pitcher. He's going to throw well. Plus Plus, they have that other kid, that left-hander that they had last year. That off the top of my head, I can't remember his name, but was really good at the beginning of the season. He's more of a soft tosser, so that they got guys that can pitch, and then you run into so then you run into the people out here that are talk about Paul Skeens. Paul Skeens throws 100 miles an hour, and was put down in AAA, and the Pirates are out here throwing guys like Marco Gonzalez. Like, I get it. Paul Skeens is 75 million times better than Marco Gonzalez. 75 million times better. But let the kid build his arm up before you put him in Major League Baseball, man, because it is a strain, and it is because he'll be one of the first ones that'll have a problem, and everybody will be all crazy about all that stuff too.
Full slate. 10 days in, good starts by some teams, bad starts by others. It's baseball. We get that. It's been cold, raw, dreary here on Cape Cod. Thank God the Sox are out west. We're awaiting, obviously, the MRI on Trevor Story. I didn't like the contract. It was more of an insurance policy. If Bogarts left, he left. They thought, he would be the savior. Only could hit at Coors Field, and here he comes to Fenway to be a savior, and was hurt last year, and now probably could be out for a long, long time, if not the season here. But Sox are winning, and I'm glad they're winning. Thoughts on what you're seeing so far? Good starts, bad starts, head shakers. I know it's early, but what are you saying?
Well, I'm surprised at one team in particular, and that's the Cleveland Guardians. I'm surprised at the Guardians because of how they're winning. We always kind of know they have a good bullpen. We always kind of know they have pretty good starting pitching, if not great starting pitching. So they've always been one of those teams where, you got to go beat them and beat their pitchers. But you don't have to fear them because they can't score any runs. Well, when is the last time let me look real quick. When is the last time that you can say that the Cleveland Guardians are averaging 6 runs a game? Holy crap. So then you got to look at it, and I've been looking at this, and I watched them play the other day, and I'm like, you know what? This team needs a nickname. So I call them now that they are death by paper cut, because all they seem to do is get one little dink hit between the first and second base, and then the next guy will get a dink hit between the shortstop and third base, and then the next guy will hit a double, and then the next guy will fly out, and they get 2 runs because there's a sacrifice fly, and the guy scored a run. They're efficient on offense. They've hit 4 home runs. That's it. They don't score that way. They string hits together in good spots. Got a decent batting average. So I call them death by paper cut. They just go out there and just, I don't know, find a way to get these runs in. And I don't think that's how do I say this? I don't think that is a continual successful strategy, because I don't think you can get 3, 4, 5 hits in a row on a repeated basis. But I do think you can be efficient on offense and score runs by moving people over. At the beginning of the year, I thought, man, these offenses look a lot different than they did the year before. But you're starting to see teams separate themselves. Watch Minnesota play. Watch Cincinnati play yesterday. Watch some of these teams that, or even like Seattle. Watch some of these teams get guys on base, and then they don't take effect of the 10th inning like you talk about. Like, if you've got a guy on base and there's nobody out, that first batter absolutely has a job to do 100%, and he knows it. His job is to get that guy to third base in any way possible. It doesn't matter if he makes an out, because if he's at third base with 1 out, a fly ball, a ground ball, anything scores that guy. So they're going to get the run in. But they don't act that way in the middle of the game. And I get it. There's other things going on, and you want to score more than 1 run, and you want to do all this, and don't take the bat out of the hands. But these guys are still doing stupid stuff. You throw a soft pitch to the outside to a right-handed batter, and what does he do? He rolls over, pulls the ball to the shortstop, easy ground ball out. nobody moves anywhere, and he's thrown out. And then the next guy strikes out, and the next guy pops up, and they don't score a guy on a leadoff double. And that's going on now more than it was, I think, in the first week or so. So watch these teams. They struggle with that. The other thing I think, and you can identify them, like you would never say that about the Texas Rangers. The Texas Rangers, right? They're not having that trouble. So some teams are out there just moving the ball all over the place, and other teams are just me guys. And that's what I think. Like everybody's making this big deal out of Ellie De La Cruz, the shortstop for the Reds. And, I saw a thing on Twitter. Oh, he's got a 12-game hitting streak. Okay, well, he's still batting like 250 or 260 or whatever, which is barely above the league average at this point. He has no home runs. He's batted, the last time I checked, now it might be just a little different because, I didn't think I did everything from last night. I think he's batted 26 times, Jeff. 26. He struck out 13. 13 out of 26 times. No home runs, like 2 RBIs. So, and he's made 2 errors, costly errors. One of the errors last night let the Mets back in the game, and the Mets go on to win the game because, again, the Reds get guys on base. They were 0 for 11 with runners in scoring position and left on like 13 guys or something. So it's baseball. That's what happens. But it shouldn't have to happen that way. And I think that, when you're betting on these games, that makes run lines and makes these guys like Hunter Green yesterday is the way more dominant, better pitcher than what Quintana is. And that game should have been a no-brainer. Okay, well, whatever. They lose the game because the way the Reds play. And that's a problem. Now, I get it. It's baseball. You got to let kids grow, and they got to learn. And you as a manager need to know what your kids can do. And but you also still got to score runs, and you just got to figure out how to make baseball work to your advantage. And I don't think they do that enough. So I thought the kid that's pitching for the Giants, Hicks, this is his second time pitching. He was the closer for the Cardinals and throw over 100 miles an hour on every single time he threw. Well, the Giants took him and they've stretched him out and made him a starting pitcher. He's thrown, pretty close to 100 pitches in both of his starts. Of course, they're both against the Padres. He's done well in both games. So I thought that was kind of an interesting situation for him specifically. I think that some of these games, like I think the Diamondbacks are going to be good again. I think they're going to be tough outs. I think it was surprising that the Braves came back and beat them after being, behind 5-0 or whatever it was there, because I think the Diamondbacks are well managed, but I still think they got a bullpen issue. So we'll see how that goes for the Diamondbacks when they get their stuff right. I think the Dodgers got shown, hey, we're not going to be perfect every single day. And, Bobby Miller was on the mound, and he's got way better stuff than Kyle Hendricks does. But, the right now teams, when you bet hot teams and they can hit, they're in games. And that's where Chicago right now is. They're one of the best offenses in baseball currently. And they're averaging the Cubs are averaging 7.7 runs a game. That's kind of hard to beat. I don't care if you are the Dodgers or anybody else or the Rangers or anybody else. You're going to try to score 7 runs. That's pretty tough. So, but they won't do that all year long, and they won't do that for much longer. So, find these spots, find those areas. And so in terms of what I'm seeing quality pitching. I'm seeing, kind of starting to fall back to these guys that have bad baseball habits, can't score the runs when you need them, can't count on them. And then you have other teams that, just moving through, the Rangers just moving through. Houston having some tough luck. I don't know what's going on. Like Yankees started off hot, but now they're back to the same old Yankees, can't hit. That kind of stuff. So I don't know. It's way too early to make crazy decisions about teams, but you're starting to see a lot. I think that managerial wise, there's I thought Ron Washington has done a pretty good job in his first week for the Angels, and I've thought Espada for the Astros maybe not so much. I mean, they got a great bullpen, but they rank 30th now. So I mean, is that usage? Is that a bunch of other things? Is that luck, circumstances? So I'm kind of watching a lot of things.
And me trying to find some value as always, whether it's a big favorite for, first five minus the hook, whether it is a team total, turning a minus 135, minus 140, even minus 160 favorite, to get to over 4.5, sometimes 5.5, need the touchdown. I saw good friend. I love him to death. Make a statement. And when you make a statement, you got to follow up on a statement. And you were just breaking down some of the teams. In the first 10 games, the Dodgers have scored 5 or more runs in every game. Okay, so why not bet the Dodgers team total over every game? Well, I will tell you, of those 10 games, and I do not have the numbers in front of me, I will bet you that at least 5, if not more, of those games, their team totals are 5.5. You need to get to 6. They're not putting up 4 on the hooks on Dodger games to just get to 5. You talked about the Cubs, averaging 7. Nothing gets me more riled up than leadoff doubles. Guys on third with less than 2 outs. Bases loaded, less than 2 outs, and not manufacturing that run. You talked about the Guardians, and of course, Tito's not there right now, but we grew up with the guy on first hitting runs. We actually saw bunting runs. We did see bunts, first to thirds. Keep the ball in play, keep the fielders moving. When the ball gets put in play, you still got to field the ball and you still got to make the throw. Then you add runners in action. Now the fielders are moving before the ball's hit. So there's so many moving parts, so much can happen. Yes, they are paid professionals. Yes, they are multi-millionaires. And I'll close before I hand you the slate today. One of the most absurd tweets in the history of mankind. Good friend Julian Edlow from DraftKings, who comes on here every Thursday, made one of the most outlandish tweets. Julian, we talk as diehard baseball fans here, especially me. I grew up with the Red Sox. They'll always be my favorite team here in Boston. And Anthony Rendon, who is the Michael Thomas of football. He got paid handsomely and he doesn't want to play, but he still wants to get paid. And baseball is not a number one priority, and his effort sucks pond water. And you can't defend people like this because he doesn't want to be there. And I swear to God, I just wish the Angels could put him down to single A or whatever even's lower, and he had to travel on a bus. And, at some point you need the cancer out of the clubhouse, and you got to take the hit on the monies. It is what it is, but you can't be defending people like Anthony Rendon.
I don't know. I saw that tweet. I don't know if it was I tongue in cheek or not. I've seen a couple of his tweets lately that he wasn't going to bet baseball, doesn't like baseball, all this other stuff about doesn't like baseball. And then obviously opening day came around, so they threw out a couple baseball games and they didn't do so well. And then, I think yesterday he had a baseball bet and they didn't do so well either. And I'm not trying to slam him. I'm just trying to say, hey, look, if you don't like the sport, don't bet it. I'm pretty good at that. I don't really like basketball that much, so you don't hear me talk about basketball that much. I don't mean that in a mean way to basketball. I just don't like it, so I don't bet it that much. So I'm a baseball, football guy, so I'll be all over that. But baseball's been around longer than any of these other sports, period. And if you really get into baseball, baseball is an exciting sport, pitch by pitch. And I know it looks boring sometimes and all that stuff, But it's a thinker's game as much as it is a physical game to play. And that's why I think a lot of people can't handle baseball is they just want to watch people run up and down and they want to watch people run. Well, baseball is not necessarily that way all the time, and there's start and stops and different things that happen, and there's strategy, and I don't know that everybody understands all that. So anyway, point being is baseball's for some people and not necessarily for others. But at one time, this was the pastime. I think that baseball's gained a lot in the last few years, so much so that I think it rallies, and I think that people are fed up with the NBA, and I would tell you that baseball is as popular as the NBA, if not more. Not as popular, obviously, as pro football or college football. So and I don't know that it ever will be, but I think that the sport itself is that way. And then talking about Rendon, here's what I'll tell people about Rendon. Every clubhouse is full of 26 players on a roster, every one of them. And I will tell you that there's a handful of guys that are bad guys. They just are. They're you wouldn't want to go talk to them. You wouldn't want to take them with you to the bar. You wouldn't want to sit with them. They're prima donna type guys. They're whatever. I don't really look at Rendon as a bad guy, though. I think Rendon was caught in a spot where, sometimes these reporters put you on a spot and take what you say, and then you got to live up to all that stuff, right? And then he's had an opportunity to fix it, but he just won't. So Rendon is a guy that says, hey, I value my family. I value other things before I value baseball. And I don't think he's ever said that he doesn't want to play baseball. I think he said he doesn't value baseball as much as he likes the other stuff. Now, having said that, his results aren't very good. He got a hit last night, so it's his first hit. But people, and here's what I'll say. People, a lot of times will judge somebody's effort without being in the locker room and seeing what he actually does to produce a result. I've watched some of Rendon's at-bats, and I'll be honest, they've been pretty good at-bats in some situations. He's taken good pitches. He walked when he needs to walk. He's helped his team a little bit. Has he performed? Absolutely not. Has he produced results? Absolutely not. But I don't know if effort is not necessarily there. I would say results are not necessarily there. And I struggle with trying to classify somebody by saying what kind of effort they have to put in when you're not really there every day. Only because somebody's effort might not be the same as somebody else's, but that is an improved circumstance. Look at Jared Kelenic. Jared Kelenic's playing great with the Braves. And you say he's playing great because his results are great. I'm not so sure he wasn't working just as hard, if not harder, for Seattle because of all the struggles he was going through. But his results are better, so we just assume he's working harder. Well, maybe he's working smarter. Maybe he's working better. Maybe he's listening to different things. So anyway, I just think that it's an unfair thing a lot of times. And the pro football players, I'm not sure about basketball players, but most people fit into those categories because I think basketball players actually do load management like they say they are, and they rest when they want to rest, and they perform when they want to perform. Right? And I get it. It's a tough sport. You got to run up and down the court every night and all the other stuff, and people bang on you and whatever. Baseball's not quite that way, but it is 162 games. You're in different cities. You're traveling all the time. You got to get up. You got to go show up, and you got to play. So, I always liked what Joe DiMaggio said, right? Like, they asked him, why do you run out every play? Because he said, somebody is seeing me play for the first time in their life today. And I don't ever want them to think that they saw Joe DiMaggio not run.
Full slate. We're already 50 minutes in, so you can take the board over. I'm going to put you on the big stage here. You can break down from your WEBBIE odds, some of your leans, some of your plays, what you're seeing, weather reports, whatever it is. But I'm going to give you the full stage right now, Scotty.
Yeah, no worries. So I think the early slate's kind of a little bit tougher today. You got Oakland and Detroit today. And this is one of those spots where you got to be careful a little bit with Oakland because they're not a pushover like they used to be for sure. And Detroit is not a juggernaut like people think they are. So Detroit's a good quality team. They have moved up. They're getting better. I think their younger players are starting to perform a little better, but at the same time, they still have to get over 500 by the end of the season. That's kind of where Detroit is. Oakland's one of those teams that you don't want them to lose 100 games, and I don't think they will this year. I think they're going to be better. But pitching matchup, Blackburn is a better pitcher than Maeda. Now, 2 years ago I wouldn't have said that, but Maeda's lost some stuff. His velocity's down. His placement of the pitches are down. So I think there's value on Oakland today. I'm not betting them today. Should you sprinkle a little money on them? It's not going to hurt anything to sprinkle a little money, because I also think that when I looked at the number, Detroit was minus 165. It might have changed a little bit since now, but if it's higher than that, there's still more value. That my numbers are only Detroit minus 140 today. I think that the problem you run into is that the first time out, Blackburn threw a really good game. His game score was a 74. He's not going to do that again. But how much worse is he going to pitch today? I'm not sure. But he's not going to throw that well. And if you're going to bet on the A's, you want him to throw that well, right? Because they're already at disadvantage on offense. Not that Detroit's offense is tremendous, because they're kind of middle of the pack on offensively to lower, and so the A's. Your biggest edge is going to be Detroit's got a pretty good bullpen, and the A's don't. So maybe you sprinkle a little bit on the A's to hold up in the first 5 innings on plus a half or on the money line. The next game is interesting to me, and I did put a little bit of money on this game, and they're frustrating because it's the Minnesota Twins. I think the Minnesota Twins are a team. I'm trying to find my stuff here. Are a team that if their offense is good, they should just dominate this division because they got the best pitching in that division. And Joe Ryan pitches today. Joe Ryan is a guy that his stuff plus rating and pitching plus rating was 103. It's better than average. It's good stuff. He has been good against the Cleveland in the past. He's got a game score average of 59 against them, which is really high. And that's pitching a lot because they play each other a lot. And then you have Carrasco on the other side, and Carrasco at this age doesn't have the same stuff as he had when he was younger. He's very hittable, and I think that bodes well for where Minnesota's offense can actually take advantage. Now, in this particular matchup, I think the odds, which obviously is what we have to bet into, is the odds, and I think the odds are too high for Minnesota. They're like minus 170, something like that, minus 180 now. And my number was minus 170, so it's just a stretch too high. But I don't want to play minus 170 on Minnesota's offense. I just don't. So Minnesota's offense, by the way, is currently 21st ranked offense. That's not very good for a team that's supposed to win that division and should win that division. And they're playing Cleveland, which is 10th. So they've got to have a better pitcher, which they do, which should hold Cleveland's offense a little bit, and Cleveland has a worse pitcher, which should help the offense for Minnesota. So I looked at this a little differently. I don't really want to challenge Cleveland's bullpen. Not that Minnesota's is bad. I just don't want to have to win against that bullpen if I'm behind. So I don't like the run line, but I do like a first 5 innings opportunity here where I think Joe Ryan is a good spot. He's going to hold Cleveland down a little bit for the first 5 innings. I think Carrasco in the first 5 innings can get hit. He pitched halfway decent the first time out. Game score was like 50, 48, kind of average. So he could get worse, and he's not going to get much better. So it's about the best you're going to get from Carrasco. And I think that the opportunity here is to take Minnesota and take Minnesota minus a half a run on the first 5 innings. So run line minus a half. And I played that today, and I think it was minus 110 or minus 115. So it's kind of like pick 'em pricing. I'm good with it. They're at home. They're a team that should beat the Guardians. They lost the first time, so I think this is a spot where they can catch that. The next game was Miami and St. Louis. Miami just is having some struggles. But when you're the 30th ranked offense and you're the 27th ranked bullpen, 27th ranked pitching staff, and you're just not going to win games. This is not a spot that I would take Miami in. Steven Matz has been pretty decent. He got off to a pretty good start. Trevor Rogers, who pitches for Miami today, at one time in his career was an up and coming good pitcher. Now he's lost some of that velocity. He's had Tommy John and some other injuries. So he's trying to battle back from some of that. I'm not ready to support him. I'm certainly not ready to support Miami's offense. So then on the other side, I think it's too high a price. So I think people think St. Louis is a really good team, and I think St. Louis is a barely above 500 team, and will battle with almost everybody in the NL Central to win that division. So I don't want to pay a minus 150 price for them to beat Miami, who theoretically is just below a 500 type team. Even though they're off to a bad start, this is a team that I think has good players. Jazz Chisholm is a good player. I think they're going to do better as the season progresses, and they get some of their pitchers healthy. So Jake Berger's not a bad player for that team. So I like the idea that they're going to be a slight underdog, not a minus 150 price. I think it's too high. So I passed on that one. The Dodgers play the Cubs today. And here again, I think that the Dodgers, I think are in a better price point today than I've seen them for a little while. I mean, they were minus 185. I don't think they're that high anymore. I think people came in and said, hey, I want to bet the Cubs. But I will tell you that Jordan Wicks, who's pitching for the Cubs, his stuff is just not strong. That doesn't mean that he can't locate well and maybe get the Dodgers out. But if you have to rely on location to get the Dodgers out, Hendricks had to do that yesterday. This was going to be 2 days in a row that I think that, the Dodgers put up, 7 yesterday. They can do that again today pretty easily. And I think that the Cubs are going to have a harder time today against Yamamoto. Not because I think Yamamoto is the best pitcher ever, but I think when you haven't seen him and you have a guy that has good stuff, you got to get used to that a little bit unless he's off. And he was off the first time out again in Korea when he pitched against the Padres, but the last time out was pretty good. I expect it to be halfway decent this time. So I think the Dodgers win this game and relatively comfortably, but I don't want to play run line here because you're at a spot where the Cubs offense 7.7 runs a game. I'm just not going to do it. I don't think that makes sense. I think that you're paying a tax on the Dodgers, and I think that you're going to have to figure out a way. Plus, the wind's blowing in there, and it's cold. Dodgers aren't going to like cold and wind, so staying away from that one. Philadelphia, Washington. Philadelphia dominates this series. Suarez is a good pitcher against Irvin. Now, Irvin is really the best. I shouldn't say best. One of the best pitchers, stuff-wise, that Washington can put out on the mound as a starter. He's not Josiah Gray and he's not Mackenzie Gore, but at the same time, he's not Patrick Corbin from yesterday either. So he's got better stuff. Now, having said that, it's not a good matchup for them. The problem, though, that I have is you can't bet Philly. Philly can't score any runs. Their offense is out of sync. They're all goofy. And until they start hitting, they got 2 guys hitting right now, Schwarber and Harper. Everybody else is struggling. So you're going to have to rely on a lot of offense coming from 2 guys, and I'm not going to do that on the run line and pay all the taxes, and I'm not paying a big price on Philadelphia. And Philadelphia's bullpen is good, Washington's is not. So there's a lot of edges to Philadelphia, but I don't like having to pay run lines. Now, I'll say it this way. The only way you want to play a run line bet is if you think that your team can feasibly have a field day scoring runs. That's it. I know a lot of people like to flip that and go, well, I want to play the run line because of the price of the money line. Don't do that. I know that we have that as a tool in our bag, but the truth is, if you don't feel like your run line bet is going to win the bet because your team's going to outscore the other one, 7-1, then don't bet the run line. Because ultimately, if you're just betting the run line to flip the price is right. So the run line is priced correctly. So just be careful on thinking that mentality. Anyway, going to the next game, you have Baltimore and Pittsburgh, and this is Wells against Falter. You saw what Baltimore can do yesterday when they had a good pitcher against them. Of course, they had a good pitcher on the mound with Rodriguez, and that Jones kid's pretty good for Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's going to be able to throw Jones out there and Skeens at one time. Holy moly. And then today they got Bailey Falter. Now, again, I'm going to go back to one of the statements I said about Colorado's, or not Colorado, but Washington, the White Sox pitcher today flexing. I don't know how these guys get to pitch. Pittsburgh has Bailey Falter on the mound today, and he is not a major league pitcher anymore. I don't know if he ever was. He pitched for Philadelphia, got hit there, kind of hung around, and now he's in Pittsburgh, and I think just filling a spot until Skeens or somebody's ready to go, and then then he'll be done. But he shouldn't be out there. He shouldn't be out there today. And Wells is a veteran guy that I think will give him a good 5 innings today. So the only way I would look at this is I would look at Baltimore possibly on the first 5 innings today. I think they can score some runs, but the actual offense for Pittsburgh is ranking higher than the offense for Baltimore. So when that's the case, you want your pitcher to be able to offset that. Wells is a decent pitcher. He's not a great pitcher. So, good offenses can hit decent pitching. Good offense for Baltimore can hit bad pitching. So that shunned me away from the run line, and specifically the run line in the first 5 innings. Now, I'll tell you this, Pittsburgh made a ton of changes in the offseason in the bullpen. They have a strong bullpen. You don't want to necessarily have to beat their bullpen to win the game. So if you were going to play this, the only way I would tell you to play it is in the first 5 innings. And kind of how you want to play that is up to you. I would play money line more than I would play run line. But and that's only because I think Pittsburgh can hit. So we'll see how that kind of turns out. This game frustrated me to no end yesterday. This is the Mets and the Reds. This is Severino today, and Severino against Martinez. Martinez is a veteran guy that actually pitched over in Japan for a while, came back. Since he's come back, he's been a little better than before he left. But he's just a veteran pitcher. He doesn't have dynamic stuff, and Severino does. He doesn't have great stuff. He's had surgeries. He's had problems. He can't control the strike zone, so locations are problems for him. But Cincinnati can't hit. Neither can the Mets. So I don't like this game to go under either, though, because these guys have the potential to both get hit and or to walk guys. So this one just has a struggle for me all over the place. I don't know how to play it, so I'm just going to leave it alone. Mets Reds. Then you got 2 great offenses in Houston and Texas. Texas went crazy yesterday, scored all those runs. Houston had very little success yesterday, but today you got France and Gray. 2 pitchers that both teams should be able to hit. France kind of more bulldoggy, though, than Gray is. Gray's got better stuff than France does. So I kind of looked at this and said, okay, well, both pitchers get hit, which the total's 10. So the expectation is there's going to be some runs scored. Where's the better bullpen? Well, currently Houston's bullpen, there's only 30 teams in Major League Baseball, and Houston's bullpen ranks 30 out of 30. That's not good. So I think at home, that puts an advantage to Texas. And then I think that when you start to look at, not that these two pitchers are great, but they have seen each other's team a little bit because they play in the same division. There's a stat called xWOBA, weighted on base percentage, but X means it's predictive. So the predictive xWOBA number for France today is 0.463 against Texas lineup. That means almost 500, right? So that means almost 500% of the time, 50% of the time, a Texas Ranger is expected to get on base. I can't pass that up. So I like the idea here that you can play Texas. You can get them at a small home favorite price, -108, -110, -105, whatever kind of pick 'em kind of number. And I think you have advantages. I think their offense is clicking better than Houston's right now. And I also think that pitching wise, even though the starters are going to be relatively similar, I think the bullpen is going to be a matchup where Texas is a little bit ahead, not dramatically ahead, but a little bit ahead. So I think that's better than a pick 'em price. I took Texas today. And then another game, you have the White Sox and the Royals. White Sox, I know everybody likes to bang on Oakland as being the worst team in baseball, but I think it works this way. I think Colorado is the worst team in baseball. I think the White Sox are the worst team in the American League. And I think you have Chris Flexen, who I don't know why he's not out there. His stuff plus rating. So this is, a measurement of vertical movement, horizontal movement, velocity, release points, spin rate, all that stuff. His stuff plus rating was 46. 46. Oh my God, 46. The average is 100. 46. So I don't think the Royals, who are having any difficulty at all on offense and have one of the best players in baseball, Bobby Witt Jr., I don't think they're having any issues hitting Flexen. I think they're going to hit him pretty good. So Walker's on the mound for Kansas City, and this is where Kansas City's done some things to try to get better. They got some starting pitchers that can at least keep them in games. Walker's one of those guys. Lugo's one of those guys. And they got Raggins, who's one of the best pitchers, and Singer, if they can keep him straight. Now they got 4 guys that can pitch. So I think the Royals will be around. And, we talked about it the other day. We got to find spots for him to play. And I think this is a spot that I'm going to play him on the run line today. I told you, when you play a team, you want them to be able to win 7-1. I think they can. I think they can win 7-1 today. White Sox can't score and can't hit. And Flexen's totally hittable. White Sox bullpen is not very good. They rank 22nd in the bullpen. So I like the idea that, the White Sox score 2 runs a game, 2.2. Right now, the Royals are scoring 5. So I like the idea that they can exaggerate that against a bad pitcher. So I like this game in the run line. I got -110. I'll take Kansas City -110. And then when it comes to some of the other games and matchup today, I think that you're going to run into a spot here where I've skipped one. I wanted to talk about the Yankee game. So you got Toronto and the Yankees, and this is Gausman against Schmidt. It's kind of a weird spot. Now, Gausman was a little bit banged up in spring training, so he got to start on the 5th spot instead of the 1st spot, and he is an ace. Kevin Gausman is an ace pitcher, and he's going to pitch against Schmidt, who's not an ace pitcher. Now, he's a good pitcher, but he's not an ace pitcher. And that matters because ace pitchers find ways to get outs. They have dynamic stuff, typically better stuff than their opponent, and I would say that's the case again today with Gausman. What I wanted to go over, though, let me flip this to my website. And there it is. So Kevin Gausman in his last 5 starts against the New York Yankees, average game score is 71. Okay, well, 50 is average. 71 is unbelievable. He's thrown 33 innings, only allowed 20 hits and 5 runs, striking out 43 Yankees. 33 innings, 43 strikeouts, and only 20 hits. That's really, really good. And what a really good time to face the Yankees batting order when they're struggling right now. So I like the idea that Gausman is going to hold up and pitch well today. And Schmidt, even though he's not the best Yankee pitcher, he's good. He can hold down Toronto too. Now, what I think, though, is that you have an ace pitcher in Toronto. I have them as the favorite today in a small way. And I think this game is more like Yankees minus 110, 115, something like that. So I don't want to mess around with the bullpens. Yes, they held on yesterday with the bullpen for Toronto, but that's not saying they're going to do it again. Their closer's out. So I don't want to mess with that. So I'm going to take Kevin Gausman money line, first 5 innings. I got minus 110. If you can get better than minus 110, good for you. But that's what I played it at, minus 110. I think that's a good value. I think that he should be the favorite, at least minus 120 or more. So I think that you've seen, or I've seen, the Schmidt face Toronto before, and his numbers. He's got an average game score of 53. So that's average, just a little over. So that gives me the thought process that Gausman's going to pitch well. Schmidt's going to pitch average. That means at least 1 or 2 runs possibly for Toronto. Maybe none. It depends. The Yankees hit home runs. So it depends on kind of how that works. But it's a spot where I think you can get good value. So you bet value when you're playing Major League Baseball, and I like that. All right, so getting back to these games, the later games. So the early games I didn't think were tremendously valuable, kind of in the middle there with Texas, Kansas City. The Yankees, I thought, the Toronto game I thought were pretty good. And then kind of the late games I had a hard time with. Seattle, Milwaukee. I was on Milwaukee yesterday. They pulled one out. Should have won that handily. Today, I don't want to bet Milwaukee. I think Milwaukee's offense is much better right now than Seattle's. But I think Seattle's got a pretty good pitcher going today. Miller's pretty decent. And DL Hall pitches for Milwaukee. Young kid, came over in the Baltimore trade for Burns. So he's still got to learn how to get outs and get things done. And Milwaukee used up their bullpen yesterday some. So I kind of like the idea of passing on this game. And I certainly don't want to bet overs when, Seattle's offense is still struggling. Arizona, Atlanta, I'm going to pass. I think Fried's the right side, but I think pricing on this game is crazy. When you're the third team, let's say it this way. So you have the Braves and the Dodgers, and then who in the National League? And then who? I think it's the Diamondbacks. So you're going to tell me that the third best team in the National League is a plus 200 underdog? I think it's way too high. So my number was 175, not over 200. So I think the value side is on Arizona, but I don't like to bet teams that should have won and then lost. I just don't. I think that carries over. There's an issue there. I think that in the mind, they got a kind of a problem there. They got to overcome something. They should have beat the Braves yesterday, and they gave that game away. Of course, the Braves kept putting pressure on them, and they won the game. But I still think that that puts them in a bad spot to be working on here. And this kid, Brandon Fad, pitched well in the playoffs, but he didn't pitch that well all season. And I don't think he's got off to the greatest of starts here. So I think the Braves can actually hit him. But Fried, I'm still worried about whether or not he's come back from his injuries well enough. So I need to see more of that before I try to figure out run lines, advantages, team totals, that kind of stuff. So I just passed that game. Tampa Bay in Colorado, listen, this is one of those spots where Tampa Bay doesn't have a pitcher. So the last time this started, Tyler Alexander's their pitcher. Tyler Alexander had an opener go for them. Armstrong, he got bombed. Didn't make any sense. Armstrong, that was when they played Toronto. It was a bad matchup for Toronto, killed them. And then Alexander came in. He's not a great pitcher. So I'm not sure what to expect here. Colorado is not going to throw great pitchers out there either. So this is just okay. Let's see. The number says I must have typed that backwards. This says the number is Colorado, Colorado plus a whole bunch. Tampa Bay minus like 150. I think Tampa Bay is a good baseball team. I think they should be able to cover that number. But I'm not going to bet it that way because Tyler Alexander is not a good pitcher. And they're going to go through bullpen guy after bullpen guy, but so is Colorado. The Rays don't play in Colorado that often, so bad matchup. San Diego, San Francisco, boy, these have been competitive games, 1-1 games most of the time. I don't like the way these teams come out sometimes. I thought San Diego was the better team. I still think San Diego is probably a little bit better than what San Francisco is, but I think he's a hot guy, and Michael Conforto is a hot player for San Francisco, so that kind of offsets some of this stuff. This particular pitching matchup is Michael King. Michael King is a guy they got from the Yankees. Good pitcher, not a great pitcher, maybe an average to above average. But he's going to face what's his name? His name is Keaton Wynn. I know nobody's never heard of Keaton Wynn, but Keaton Wynn, his stuff numbers were 117 and pitcher plus was 115 last time out. Unbelievable numbers. So that means he's a pretty good pitcher. So I wouldn't bet against him. And there's probably very small value there depending on how this goes. But this is a coin flip game, so I'm just going to stay off of it. So that kind of is the way it is for me there. And when it comes to the last game, Detmers is pitching against Whitlock today. Detmers is their best pitcher. Whitlock is not the best pitcher for Boston, but look, Boston's a good team on offense. I'm not sold on the bullpen quite yet. I'm not sold on anything that the Angels are doing, so I don't think there's value in the play. So I'm just leaving it alone, passing on that one.
Big board, a lot of. It's the weekend. I know it's Final Four weekend for the men's and women. Men's play tonight, women's championship tomorrow, men's on Monday. Baseball today, full slate. NHL, NBA, same for tomorrow. Masters week coming. As we always like to wrap it up, Scotty, any closing thoughts for the standing room only? Again, great show as always here. Moving forward for today and tomorrow, and before we start a new week, obviously on Monday.
Well, the only closing thought I have, Jeff, is and maybe this is just because of how I think and I don't understand certain things. I'm trying to drive people to my website because there's a lot of information there. Now, having said that, I don't understand what people want. And if people would help me with understanding what they want so that I can provide them maybe with better information than what I provide. Like I think through the games pretty well. I think I describe them pretty well, but sometimes I think people want something that maybe I don't think of, or I haven't thought of the right way. And really what I want to do is help people win and help people learn how to bet baseball, because it's a beautiful sport. It's a great thing. Grow the game, and grow MLB betting. And I'm trying to figure this out because my website has grown in my productivity, and maybe not to national productivities and stuff, where I'm getting 70 to 100 hits every day. For me, that's a lot. But I don't get a lot of comments. I don't get a lot of feedback. I don't get a lot of things that in turn tends for me to think that some of the stuff that people want, I'm not giving them. So I just have a general question. And in general, I guess if you're a sports bettor, what and a Major League Baseball bettor, what kind of information are you looking for other than just plays? Because I can give you those too. But what kind of reasonings are you looking for? What kind of things do you want? And that I guess that would be what I would say today as a closing thought is I know that doesn't necessarily help us when you and I are just sitting here trying to figure things out, but I don't know the answer to those questions because I don't know what people are looking for.
I'm going to sum this up in my closing thought, and I will try to keep this not long-winded. January 1st, 2015. Yes, that's 9 years ago, people. East Coast Sports Investors was launched publicly on social media. What was the thought process? Here's what my thought process was. I want to provide daily information to people that are betting on sports. How do you do that? Well, you got to provide winners. Okay. I did not want to be Stu Feiner. I did not want to be that scam artist named Vegas Dave. I've never wanted to be any of those people. But what we had to do is to establish ourselves as someone that knew what the bleep they were talking about. And so it was going on social media. It was going to web.com and starting my own web page for $127 a month. And in 2015, we had a great year. The one thing that we always talk about is 100% transparency. Whether you go 3-0 or 0-3, we always told the story. So taking the victory laps along with the criticism on the losses, but we built a name brand second to none. If you Google search sports investors, you'll see we are the number one ranked sports investment firm in the whole wide world. Yes, that's us right there. First page, Google, and we're proud of it. But this was years before PASPA was passed. What was PASPA? That was when PASPA was passed, it was legalizing the individual states in the United States to provide sports books, casinos, and to take action on games. But what has happened is 2020 was COVID. We got set back for 18 months. Now what's 2024? Another election year. So my point, Scotty, is you are doing absolutely nothing wrong. You have more information than NASA. You have more numbers than NYNEX, okay? And it's fascinating to the diehard baseball people. And I'm not saying this in a negative way, okay? Because in 2017, we had the greatest run in the history of conference championships and March Madness. We went 30-2. It will never be duplicated. I've had 25-3 runs. I've had 21-2 runs. I've had 13-0 runs. I've had all these runs. I was almost going to go somewhere. This is a rated G show. I wouldn't even go there. But my point is, I tell people we're not scratch tickets. And so, meaning people come on board, we're paid professionals. We enjoy what we're doing. It's not work. We eat, sleep, drink these numbers. I don't sleep. I'll be 58 in November. I don't sleep. I get up more times to go to the goddamn bathroom. I should just stay up. And my point is, people are just looking for freebies. They're just looking for, where can I go? Like you said, 1,700 hits a day. They're looking for, what are the free picks for the day? They go on social media. Who's hot? Oh, this guy's 17-2. Let me flock to him. It's when you should be, their numbers. That's all it is numbers. So when you're attracted to someone that just went 17-2, I hope you're still attracted to him when he goes 2-17, which I'm not saying he's going to go. But my point is, they even off. They will eventually even off. You want the faces, myself, Scott, that have been here since day one. How many people that you guys are following you can go back to 2015 and they've been doing this. There's not many. They've either changed their name, their website, they don't show their face. And that's not what you're looking for. So we preach long term.
Used to wear a jacket back then.
Yes, we preach long term. 1 day, 1 week, 1 month doesn't make a service. And I'll be an open book here. Last year, we ended December 26-5. We started January 13-0. We started February 12-1. We went from December to May, which was we said 7 months. So that's 28 weeks. In 28 weeks, we had 2 losing weeks. Okay, 28 weeks, we were 20 winning weeks, 2 losing weeks, and 6 pushes. Unheard of. And then, of course, regression hit. The R word hit. So then people are scratching their heads. What's going on in August? What's going on? It's grinding. Win a week, lose a week. Push a week. Win a week, lose it. And that's what happens in this business. So if you're not equipped to take the lumps and the bumps, our goal is to keep you off the roller coaster. It's great to preach to the world. Oh man, we just went 11-2 this week. I'm going out and buying a new car for the wife. Oh my God, we just went 18-4 in the last 2 weeks. I'm going to Aruba for 2 weeks. That same person that's preaching the new car in an Aruba for 2 weeks, for the next 6 weeks is eating ramen noodles, and you don't see him on social media. Okay, we're here to educate, not entertain. If you're not equipped for the long-term game, get out. Get out. Go to social media. Go follow Trent, who hasn't had a winning day in 2 months. Okay, if that's fun and you want to be entertained, we're not your guys. If you want guys that work around the goddamn clock, that are here to take the good with the bad, that are here to answer the questions, then we're your guys. And Scotty's providing a service for $150 for 6 goddamn months of baseball. There's 162 games in a season. If you can't afford 94 cents a game, you're in the wrong business. Go donate it to the MSPCA. Go donate it to a good charity. If you want guys that take the good with the bad that are going to be here, we're your guys. So that's my sermon, Scott.
Yeah, I know. I get it. I just think that, you and I have been doing this together now. I don't know. Has it been 10 years almost?
This is our 9th full year.
19. So we've been doing this a lot, and we've grown from trying to do voice recordings to just doing stuff on the internet to now we do videos, and now I'm a little more available. I can do a lot more videos, and be more recognized with you, I guess, a little more than what I had been in the past. But I think that as things grow, some things never change. But the one thing that I feel like that I have that I can do is I can offer people stuff. Yeah, and I'm not trying to make money off of those people. I'm just trying to keep things going, right? The website costs $300 a month or whatever it is, $300 or whatever, and then you got all the other ancillary things that go along with that, and all the workload of putting in data and paying people to write your scripts and you get all that stuff done, and then you got to do all your little advertising and all that. It's just things are things. I'm not trying to listen. I want to make money off my bets. So I'm not trying to make money off people per se, but I do want to keep the business going. But I also want to offer as much as I can. But I guess the fairest way for me to say it though, Jeff, and I hope you feel the same way, when you offer something of value, you want to get paid a little bit for your value, right? And that's like I said, I learned a lot when I checked in with the unabated team. I learned a lot when I checked in with Odds Jam and seeing what they were doing. And I converted a lot of my stuff to the way their processes were. Jeff, if you want to pay $299 or $249 a month for their services, go right ahead. If they sold $1,190 It was $1,190 for the package for unabated for baseball. $1,190. I sit there and go, I can give you more. Now, I can give you more in a sense of information and data and understanding, and I'm accessible. You can give me your question and I'll answer it. And but what they have is they're going to have a website that's up and running, and they're going to have their unabated number right there where you can see it. I don't think you need it because if you have if you have EV Plus tool related to odds variants, not sportsbook variants, I think you can find winners that way. You don't have to have that up every minute. And I'm going to give you that every single day. WEBBIE odds every day. Write-ups on every game, virtually every game. Pitcher reports, batting reports, weather reports. If you want it, it's going to be here. But I have to do it. And I think $150 is fairly reasonable. And I just question sometimes whether I'm going at it the right way, or going at it, answering the right questions, or what people want so that I can give it to them. Anyway, that was my thoughts.
No, great thoughts as always. Last show of the week, or the weekend actually, for us here at ECSI will be dark tomorrow. On Monday, not sure exactly what's going on, but we'll be back to the same regular schedule. We try to average 1 to 3 shows a day there. Not sure what my Canton schedule is with Food Truck Festivals of America. Anthony Pepe, of course, myself and Anthony on the Die Hard Sports Radio show. So a great week. Everyone new to our station, jump on over to YouTube, East Coast Sports Investors. Subscribe. It's free. Turn on the notifications. Never miss a show with me and Scotty. We cover all the gamuts here. MLB. We do some breakfast bankroll, some midday market reports, bring in the biggest guests in our stages, in our lanes, whether it's Andrew McGinnis from Wager Talk, Julian Edlow from DraftKings, Matt Grissom, Quentin Mills, NCAA Insiders, College Baseball. We bring on, of course, Travis Geiger, CXO of WagerWire, our proud sponsor and partnership there. We're working on some other potential deals down the pike. Of course, Wednesdays, 5 p.m., Brady Kannon, Sports Grid, which I was a guest on Thursday night with Scott Wetzel and Dave Sharapan. We'll be talking Masters this week, so make sure you set your schedule there for Wednesday, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. For myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, the one, the only. Beam him up, Scotty Webb. At Scotty Webb. You can go find him at Webbie20MLB on the Twitter or X. Guys, have a great weekend. Behave yourself. Stay in those lanes. Don't overextend. Monday's right around the corner. New start, new week, fresh start. And go UConn Huskies, and we will see you soon.